what else I see is this Green Bay Packers defense. I'm awake. I was asleep. I wasn't moved by the Lions performance. Week 1 Lions, I expected a little bit of a lull. I still picked the Lions to win. I didn't anticipate it to be a dominating performance the way that it was. But then understanding their offensive line's in shambles. Jared Goff is Jared Goff. New play caller. A loss is a loss. I didn't hate the way that the Commanders looked against the Giants all in all, defense and offense, especially because I have a lot of stock into that Giants defense, and I thought that the Commanders handled things well. They got shut down yesterday. There was nothing that they could do whatsoever. Micah and company, amazing. I think they have 10 sacks in 2 weeks. If I'm not mistaken, they've just been swarming the quarterback. They've been perfect. And Micah Parsons yesterday was incredible. The jumps that he gets off the line is simply silly. Like the burst, the athleticism, his eye for understanding snap counts and getting off the line as quickly as he does. You see how infectious it is on every other member of the defense. And Keyshawn Nixon, of course, you mentioned it. He was huge yesterday. The fact that the Commanders consistently went in high leverage situations away from Terry, away from Debo, they were going to Noah Brown and it's Jalen Lane?
Yeah.
I was dumbfounded at the time and time again. You gotta have in moments, and they're just not able to go to Terry and Debo because they're doing such a great job of getting pressure on him. The zones that the Packers were playing, the zone defense that the Packers were playing, and Keyshawn Nix honestly just being on everything. He was incredible for them. This Packers defense is legit, and there's no more me trying to say, give other teams the benefit of the doubt. Commanders made an NFC championship run. The Lions won the division last year. Well, in 2 weeks, they've handled their food.
Yeah, I mean, these were the 2 best offenses in football last year.
Insane.
The Lions and Commanders were the 2 highest scoring offenses. And of course, the Lions without Ben Johnson and the offensive line context there, but still, these are 2 high-powered offenses that the Packers shut down. And man, if you're an opposing offense, I don't know what you do, because this is probably the best run defense in the NFL as well, right? They shut down the Lions, who were, I don't know if they were number 1 last year, but they were top 3 in terms of, rushing offense last year. And the Commanders, I mean, it's Eckler and it's Bill and it's really Jaden. It's Jaden too. They don't have an elite run.
Who he didn't run yesterday.
No, they were able to stifle everything. And then you mentioned it, like when you do want to pass, we have an elite pass rush, right? And this is Micah Parsons still not being a full-time player. Like this is Micah Parsons still playing, around 50% of snaps or so. He hasn't even been fully unleashed to the point where when he's 100% healthy, again, this is a short week, someone who's dealt with an injury in training camp, so they're not going to completely unleash him. The Packers are awesome. I mean, defensively, you said it, Drew. This feels like one of, if not the best defense in football right now. I think once we get to the end of the season, it's going to be like them in Denver and Houston, but they're going to be one of those units you look at once January comes around. You're going to be like, holy shit, bro, how do we move the ball against this team? The only one little wrinkle that kind of scares me, but if you're just trying to nitpick, is it's 2 weeks in a row where it feels like they dominated their opposing team, but they couldn't put them away, right? Like against the Detroit, it felt like they were up by 30 and Detroit is down by 9 or 10 points. This game against the Commanders, it felt like they're up by 30 points. And then you look up, it's a 1-score game, and late in the third quarter, early fourth quarter. That's the only little thing, is just feels like they're dominating these games, but they can't really completely put these other teams to bed until late in the fourth. Again, you're 2-0. Defense looks elite. Jordan Love looks like an MVP candidate. That's just the one little nitpicking thing I have in terms of, maybe that's the one piece missing. But yeah, I mean, offensively, Jordan Love looked amazing. That felt like one of Jordan Love's best games of his career, right? The numbers might not say it, but he had 2 of those missed throws, which we talked about before the show, to Matthew Golden, that were just a little bit underthrown. One was underthrown, one was a little bit overthrown. But he had 2 plays. The one to Jaden Reed that doesn't count in the right side of the end zone, that's just insane. The one to Malik Heath on the left sideline, which Malik Heath made a hell of a catch
it's a carry
on it.
Job.
But also an insane throw for, I think he was under pressure too, but the only place that Malik Heath can make that catch. This feels like the most complete team in football right now. This feels like a team that's clicking on all cylinders, great defense, great offense, great quarterback, great coaching staff. It's September, so it doesn't matter yet. But I mean, right now, if we do power rankings, it feels like the Packers should be number 1.
Well, it makes sense why they have started off so hot. I think the Micah Parsons trade energized them, and it brought life to every defensive player on that team because everybody is playing their best football right now. Lucas Van Ness had 5 pressures in the first 2 months of 2024. He already has 5 pressures through 2 games of 2025. Devontae Wyatt, through 11 weeks in 2024, had 12 pressures. Through 2 games in 2025, he already has 11 pressures. You're not only getting Micah Parsons in his addition to this defensive line, which 8 pressures last night. He had a 22% pressure rate. He was dominating. There was a point in time they tried to triple team him and they couldn't block him anyway. You're getting breakout seasons from everybody on that defensive line. Devontae Wyatt was tasked to replace Kenny Clark, and he looks even better than him right now. Lucas Van Ness, who to this point has been disappointing as a first-round pick, but this year it feels like he's figuring everything out. And Micah Parsons has even went on interviews, and he said that Lucas Van Ness reminds him of Cameron Wake, of Julius Peppers, that type of frame. It is very high praise.
Julius Peppers.
That is his
Best
teammate, though, and
time.
he's basically saying that Lucas Van Ness and him have been training together and working out so we can get the best out of Lucas Van Ness. And then somebody I really think has stepped up big has been Colby Wooden. He's been their run defender that they rely on, but he's brought some pass rushing juice as well. And then you have Edgerrin Cooper, who I felt like was on the verge of a breakout this year anyway, who's a superstar. And that secondary, that's the one part that you say that's the weakest link on their team, but I feel like it's gotten underrated. You have Evan Williams and Xavier McKinney. That's one of the best safety duos in football. Then you have Carrington Valentine, Keyshawn Nixon, and Nate Hobbs. I think that's more than good enough on the secondary. And also Javon Bullard, who plays some snaps at nickel, is a really good run defender. He was actually supposed to be the safety, but because Evan Williams last year played better than him, he ended up taking that job. But their team is young, they're talented, they get after it, and this defense is going to be a lot to handle. And what I saw from Jaden Daniels was the most flustered that I've ever saw him in his NFL career. At the top of his drop, he wasn't seeing the field. He was getting pressured almost instantly to where he had to flush out the pocket. There were moments where he even had time to maybe set his feet and make a difficult throw. But because of how much they were pressuring him all night long, he got pressured on 48% of his dropbacks. He never felt comfortable. Because all those checkdowns we saw Jaden make, yeah, some of them it was because nothing was there, but there was quite a few plays that I have clipped up where you have an out route opening up, you have a curl route, you have a dig over the middle opening up. That jump ball that he threw to Austin Eckler, there was a dig right there opening up to Terry McLaurin, but Jaden didn't feel comfortable enough being in the pocket, and he made a panicky throw. I felt like it was the worst the Commanders' offense has looked with Jaden Daniels. It was the worst he has looked in the NFL thus far, and I don't think that is because he is regressing. I think that's because this Packers defense is just that elite. It's been back-to-back weeks where a team that has scored an average 33 points per game last year was shut down in Detroit, and a team that was averaging 26-plus points last year in Washington also got shut down by the Green Bay Packers. And it's crazy to say that, you know, this is the unit that we're pointing to, their defense, when their offense is also like clearly a top 10 unit in the NFL. This offense is great as well, but the defense is just been so elite that it's overshadowing what the offense has been. And I feel like the offense, even though it has its highs and they're getting off to fast starts and they're scoring, there's still a lot of meat left on the bone. We see Jordan Love with the 2 missed throws to Matthew Golden. Then in week 1, you also had a couple misses. They really haven't been able to establish the run through 2 weeks. So this team has a lot of room to improve offensively. Defensively, they've played 2 as perfect games as you could play. But Jordan Love, his performance in week 2 was amazing. And I feel like if he keeps playing like this, he's going to be in the MVP conversation, because I'm looking at the Packers schedule. I think they're going to start 8-0.
Who do they have coming up?
Next game, they have the Browns. Then they're on the road against the Cowboys. Then they play the Bengals at home. Then they're on the road against Arizona. Then they're on the road against Pittsburgh. Then they play the Panthers at home. And then they play the Eagles.
Okay.
So Pittsburgh and Eagles are 2 games that just stand out to me. They still should be favored over the Steelers without a doubt. Eagles would be a great game.
Is Browns a home game again or on the road?
They're going on the road for that one. That's going to be a tough defense, and I feel like that'll be a chance for the offense to maybe get back on track. I feel like these next coming weeks are going to be a chance for the Packers offense to have even more of a perfect game. I mean, the week 2 game was almost as perfect as you can ask for. They were walking Washington down the field.
Yeah, the second half of the season, that's when they start playing some divisional. Like you have the Eagles, then it's the Giants, but then you play the Vikings, the Lions, the Bears, the Broncos, the Bears, the Ravens, the Vikings to close out the season. So yeah, they're gonna get off to a hot start, and then the second half of the year, we'll see how they look.
Riv, can I say something real quick?
Go ahead, bro.
This game was interesting because Joel, I think you really said it, and it sparked it in my mind to rethink about what happened in the game. Packers definitely left room for Washington to be in this game. Washington couldn't convert on their opportunities. Right before the half, you get a missed field goal. Mm-hmm. You go ahead, you have another drive, and their kicker misses another field goal, doinks it off the post. You have moments where this game could be a lot closer, and even still, like you mentioned, it was a one-score game. Where I was moved by the Packers was it is a one-score game, and the very next drive, the Packers marched down the field and scored a touchdown. In the first half, Packers had 2 90-yard drives. This game was a very complete showing from the Packers. However, I'm not trying to gloss over Washington either. I understand that we look at this game and think the Packers dominated this matchup. But we didn't see the best version of Jaden Daniels like you highlighted. I think that the run game was wildly uncharacteristically bad for them. Unfortunately, you lose Austin Eckler. That was really unfortunate. Dietrich Wise also goes down with a torn quad. That's pretty devastating for him. A solid pickup for them in the offseason. But this Commanders team still had opportunity to put themselves and make this an even closer game than it actually was. But in this league, when you go up against the upper echelon teams, these minor mistakes, great teams take advantage of them. And the Packers showed why they are a great team, why they are an elite team. But I say all that to say, I'm not letting go of Washington just off of this performance because they look like they really got outclassed. Because really in the nooks and crannies of this game, Washington was right there. Green Bay just said, no, this is our time and we're showing it.
Losing to Green Bay isn't a bad thing.
Not at all.
How nervous are you, Riv? As an Eagles fan, do you think the Packers are your biggest threat? 1 to 10, 10 being, holy shit, I think they are going to beat us. 1 being they're nothing.
1 being nothing.
They're a 10 out of 10.
I think I'm at a 5. I guess I'm in the middle.
Yeah.
I think
you're at a DK Metcalf?
Yeah, I think I'm at a 5 because I think it's week 2. They've had 2 home games.
2 good opponents.
Yeah, I think something you said earlier that really made me think like, how nervous should I be is you said their defensive line has been able to just impose their will on the opposing offensive lines. And that's why I don't feel as scared because our offensive line is much better than Washington's. Our offensive line is definitely now much better than Detroit's.
I agree.
So I think that's the difference. Whereas if their defensive line has wreaked havoc over these past 2 games with just getting to the quarterback, which is causing hella pressure, we have probably the best offensive line in football, if not the best, because Denver's up there in top 2, top 3, which gives me like, all right, these guys can't protect their quarterbacks. We, for the most part, we could protect our quarterbacks. So that's going to be a slugfest in the trenches. I think right now they're playing great. You got to give them the credit. They've beat 2 top offenses. I think right now we're trying to figure out our kinks with that cornerback situation, trying to get our guys healthy and stuff like that. But I think like them playing as great as they are, I still feel confident in my team. I still feel confident that we're still one of the most talented teams in football. I still feel confident that it's us. You got to come see us regardless. We're still the best team in the NFC. And I think, the trench work is where it's going to matter. I think we have one of the best trenches in the league. I think offensively, Landon Dickerson, Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, like we have dudes that are Pro Bowlers, all pros. So it's going to be a dogfight, and I think right now what you've seen is Green Bay up the score on these other teams. I think Washington, you mentioned, you said it. You said it's nothing wrong with losing to Green Bay, and I agree. I don't think Washington was ever going to be in that tier, especially this year. I think they're a step below, and I think that's okay. I think Washington is still a team trying to find their way. I think with Detroit, you saw the clear mismatch in those teams, specifically in the trenches, and that should be a cause of concern for Detroit because it's a team that wants to compete. But just speaking on Green Bay a little bit, I do think, like you mentioned, if there's one thing you want to be hypercritical about, it's the run game, because that was their bread and butter last year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for the most part, their run game, getting it going, Josh Jacobs being a workhorse, and it sucked in the second half. Matt LaFleur seems to take his gas off the pedal a little bit. You know what I'm saying? He seems to kind of let them ease off a bit.
He's such a cutie.
Yeah, and realistically, they should be beating these teams by 30, 40 points. The way it feels, because in the first half, it feels like it's not a game at all.
They're dominating these games.
Yeah, so I think that's the one flaw, but they played almost amazing. They played almost perfect these past 2 weeks, and if you did a power ranking, they probably would be number one. They deserve all the credit in the world. But I think for me, like, we have one of the most talented teams in the NFC, so why would I be scared?
Listen, if I was an Eagles fan, I'd be talking the same way as you. We just come off a Super Bowl.
Our offensive line gives me the confidence that
I get it.
we can stay in these games.
I think the difference is that Green Bay is going to move Micah around.
Shit don't matter.
They're going to move him inside, and if he's lined up against Cam Jurgens, if he's lined up against Tyler Steen, he's going to easily win that matchup. Micah, since he's gotten into the NFL, is number one in the amount of quick pressures that he generates. And the way that he is beating these offensive lines is seamlessly. Some of these guards that he's playing, the ball is snapped and he's already in the backfield.
You think he's going to play tackle?
He has played some snaps.
Yeah.
Has he played D tackle already?
He has played some
Really?
snaps. Yeah, for sure he has. And even last year with Dallas, he played, I think, 34 snaps at defensive tackle. They started to experiment with it, and he had a 34% pressure rate on those snaps, which
I'm
was
not
number
surprised.
one in the sample size.
You gotta think, as the interior lineman, you're not used to someone that quick coming out, you know what I mean?
I only say that because he's short,
Yeah.
considering
He's
his position.
powerful.
He's
Yeah,
one of the
that's why.
strongest.
Well, I mean, he's going
line-
to do that on obvious passing down. You're not going to go 1st and 10,
100%.
Micah Parsons, stop the run. You know what I mean? That's
100%.
not what he's going to be used with.
He's been being used like that already with Jeff Hafley. And
Cheetah
I mean,
package.
I've
We're talking
already
about all fucking time in this broadcast.
I've already seen Penei Sewell allow a 21% pressure rate against Micah, and horrible right tackles usually allow like 18%, which means that Micah made Penei Sewell look replacement level. I'm not saying he's going to do that to Lane Johnson, but Lane Johnson is not going to completely shut down Micah. That's going to be a battle, and that's going to be something you got to look out for. In the past, when they've double teamed and they've centered their entire game plan around the run and misdirection, it has happened. But Micah against Lane Johnson one-on-one, Micah has also gotten a lot of his victories too. And I feel like a lot of misconceptions have been talked around with Micah, because when the trade first happened, it was some people that said Dallas might have made the right decision just because of his run defense. But now you see, when Micah is surrounded with other great run defenders, he is a great run defender. One player cannot change around your run defense. It's just very hard.
Unless you're Aaron Donald.
Aaron Donald can't even change around an entire run defense.
I mean, the year they lost to Detroit in the wild card round, he kind of did.
It's also defensive tackle versus edge.
Of course.
You're clogging up the middle lanes.
I was
but
making more so sense we watched the greatest ever.
One player cannot totally change it around. And through 2 weeks, Green Bay has been the best run defending team in the NFL.
He'll never be lined up just with Cam Jurgens, though.
No.
But he'll never just be lined up against Lane.
Exactly. He's always going to be double teamed.
Either which way, when your name's Micah Parsons, you're
so
getting a double.
He's never going to get a single versus
But they're
Cam
gonna.
Jurgens.
I'm saying they're gonna move around Micah, and I think that.
But unless you move him to the right side, I mean, because the left is Lane, Dickerson, Jurgens, Steen, then Mulatto. So he's not. If he strictly stays on the right, but if he hits the left, we're good.
Philadelphia has the best offensive line equipped to block Micah, but also we're adding in the factor of Jeff Hafley calling plays on defense and all the double A gap mugged up looks that confuse offensive lines, all the simulated pressures. There's a lot of trickery that he uses in his pass rush plans. And I mentioned before, I thought Jalen Hurts in his first 2 games against Green Bay last year against Jeff Hafley, he didn't look that good. And that was with nobody being able to generate pressure consistently. So now you have a player like Micah who can generate pressure at will. I mean, it changes everything. And I felt bad to this point not even mentioning Tucker Kraft, because Tucker Kraft, first game over 100 yards, he's going to be a star. He's already trending towards that. The debate with the Packers is always about number one wideouts. And I feel like maybe Tucker Kraft might be taking that crown of the guy that they're going to, because his ability to run after the catch and generate yards and break tackles, I mean, it's unbelievable. So Tucker Kraft to me,
Saquon averaged 5 yards a carry
On Dallas.
against the Packers.
Last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Twice.
Yes.
So.
I know this defense looks different.
No, I'm saying it does for sure, but just like they had run defenders there, and like Saquon still averaged 5 yards, like twice, like 5 yards a carry.
Yes.
So
I think that, that's where they're getting last year, especially that's what was working for them offensively. But Jalen Hurts, like I said, I don't think he played that well against Green Bay.
That was definitely the game he struggled the most.
Since we are only going off what we've seen so far in 2025, seems like we're getting a different Jalen this year too.